up over the dugout and put away Jeff Bagwell.
So to the bottom of the third we go. Lance Johnson leads it off, and he's 2 out of 2. He came in 7 for his last 20. He's 9 for his last 22, and that average creeping up ever so slowly here. He's in the mid 220s now. So let's see if the Cubs can avoid doing in the third what they did in the first. They had 2 men on but failed to score. Our thanks again to Commander Scott Altman of the United States Navy and a NASA astronaut for spending a half inning with us. Well, what a nice guy. And what a thrill that must have been for him. We ran out of time. We were going to get into the Hollywood story. He was one of the stunt pilots in the movie Top Gun. And he said he did his military duty with Tom Cruise flying behind him in the back seat of that Tomcat fighter plane.
And what I like about it, he said that although Tom had a great attitude about flying, he did fill up his bag, as they say.
So, Tom, if you're watching, Scott sends his best.
And I hope you had enough Pepto-Bismol after that flight.
No balls, 2 strikes. Johnson not going, and Mickey took a shot to left and fouls it away. Big time Cub fan Sam Esposito celebrating his 90th birthday at the ballpark today. The Pattersons are here, as is Floyd Harmon from Portland, Oregon, watching the Cubs. And Morandini, a blooper into right. That's going to be caught by Bell. 1 away.
Kind of a double-edged sword when you have the wind blowing out. Obviously, the fly balls will blow out of the ballpark, but any of those loopers normally carry to the outfielders, as that one off the bat of Morandini.
The wind must be blowing out in Milwaukee today. Dave Nilsson just hit a 3-run homer. It's 5-4 in the third. Brewers leading the Padres. Boy, the guys and gals in the scoreboard have their work cut out for them today. We're going to see a lot of home runs and a lot of high scoring around the major leagues. We've already seen it so far in the National League, but not in this game yet. It's 1-0 for Sosa, who sends a high pop into shallow right. Bell flips the shades down. He staggers but puts it away. 2 pop-ups from Sosa, who's 5 for 26 now on the homestand.
Sammy's been awfully anxious against Lima, and it's cost him a couple of pop-ups. So no, Mark Grace will have an opportunity, as both pitchers on a very tough day to pitch have held down the opposition so far.
So here's Grace. Cubs had runners first and second with 1 man out. You hit into a 3-6-1 double play. Lance Johnson at first with 2 men out, and the pitch on the corner. 0-1. Again, we send our best to Henry Rodriguez. Hope the x-rays being taken at Northwestern Memorial Hospital will be good news.
Yes, we would certainly love to see Henry back as quickly as possible. He's meant so much to this ball club in the middle of that lineup.
0-1. Johnson, no sign of running yet. Now time is called. 1-0 in favor of the Astros. The Cubs 4 hits. Houston with 2.
Lima put the sleeper on him. That's what my old mate Don Stanhouse used to say. He used to go into his stretch and just stay in the stretch until the batter stepped out. Even if it took 10 minutes. He wasn't about to deliver the ball.
No balls and a strike to Grace. And now the count evens 1-1. It's a concessionaire's delight today. Hot, muggy afternoon. Brant Brown in the on-deck circle. He'll take Henry's place in the Cubs order.
And he would love to get his first at bat of the day this inning.
Grace couldn't stop himself. 1-2.
Would you like to go into one of those fighter planes? Because I think I could probably get you a birthday gift. Let you ride in the second seat. for a few of those maneuvers up in the air.
It depends on if the pilot's marquee de Sade or not. 1-2. Swung on, hit high in the air. No carry to it. Shallow center field, maybe in a perfect spot. Nope. Everett comes on, puts it away. And the inning is over. Well, how about Lima? 3 fly ball outs here in the 3rd inning, but of no depth. And the Cubs continue to trail 1-0 after 3. Will be Amtrak Day at Wrigley Field. Amtrak tickets and AAA travel packages will be given away throughout the game, including trips to St. Louis and New York. You can win with a lucky ticket number drawing or stop by the Cubs administrative offices at Wrigley Field for a free entry form. That's Amtrak Day at the ballpark. Monday, August 24th, Game 3 against the Astros. Moises Alou will lead it off. Hey, where's all the offense between these two teams? Wind blowing out. Give Traxel and Lima credit. They've made big pitches when they've had to make them. And Alou might roll out. Gaetti charges, gloves, grabs, flips to first. Close play, not in time.
It was a good effort by Gary Gaetti, but Moises Alou, who by his own admission is about a step and a half slower than he was when he came to the big leagues, able to beat it at first. A very close play. Gary took some time letting it go, and Mark Grace scoops it up. And Jim Quick gives the benefit to Alou, who's having an all-world year. But Moises broke his ankle rounding first base when he was a very young player with the Expos. And he said it gave him a much different perspective on the game because it looked like he was staring the end of his career right in the face. When he came back and got healthy again, he said he really appreciated what he had as a major leaguer.
Yeah, that happened in St. Louis, didn't it?
No, I thought it was in Montreal.
Maybe against the Cardinals then, but I remember the reaction of the umpire when he broke his leg. The umpire, I can't remember who it was, saw him break his leg so horribly and just...
Yeah, he shattered it almost completely, and he said that he never really appreciated, he took for granted most of what was given to him, and he said after that, it turned his career around because I asked him what was the defining moment of his career, and he said that leg injury in Montreal. And it was kind of a surprising answer because he's had so many great moments.
0-1, including a World Series championship with the Marlins last year. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He also said that if it was possible, he would love to see an opportunity to play once again, at least one more year with his father as manager. I asked him if it was difficult for him to do that, and he said he just loved it. He thought it was outstanding. And he would love to see his father once get an opportunity to manage a real good high revenue baseball team. He thought he could work wonders with it.
I'll throw to first. Well, you see how Montreal year after year develops such great major league talent. If they could keep that core group of talent together with any kind of financial revenue in Montreal or somewhere else, that team would be a power every year, it would seem. For they've let some great players get away simply because they just couldn't afford to pay them anymore. That's a shame.
Well, if they do get a new ballpark, and apparently it's 50-50, we'll know a lot more in September. Then they will, or have plans to, double the payroll the first year and double it again the second year. And then they will be able to keep some of their very good young players, like their guy in right field, Vladimir Guerrero, who is going to be as good a player as there is in the National League.
He's already very scary. Again to first. Mets are threatening in New York, but Mike Piazza just struck out with men at first and second. They're now 2 down. Arizona clinging to a 3-2 lead in the 6th. Al Leiter against Brian Anderson in that game. 1-2. Swing and a foul tip. The runner was going, but Alou will have to head back.
Alou 11 out of 13 in stolen bases, and normally this Astro team very aggressive.
Well, did you see the highlights of that Met game yesterday? The Piazza grand slam.
I did indeed.
And how about the great catch, that sliding defensive grab he made? They have been booing him unmercifully in New York.
Well, I think that will eventually send him from the city. But he's shown this stretch run that he's still got a lot left and some tremendous offensive skills.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
You look at his numbers, and they put him up last night in the same time frame as Johnny Bench, the beginning of his career, and his numbers really dwarf Johnny Bench's numbers.
Unbelievable. 1-2. 2-2. And I always thought that the knock against him, that he didn't call pitches well, or that he didn't handle his staff well were maybe partially true, but well, you looked up at the stats every year. The Dodgers were 1, 2, 3 in the National League year after year after year with him calling the pitches behind the plate. So he wasn't doing everything wrong back there.
I think Alou will be running here, so if Traxel is saving his best move, this is a good time to use it at first base.
Alou with 11 steals and 13 tries is going to pitch. Swung on, popped up on the infield. Who wants it? It'll be the shortstop, Jose Hernandez. He's got it, and there's out number 1. So Everett's popped to short twice now, and that brings the shortstop Ricky Gutierrez into the batter's box. He fly to left his first time. Brian McRae just hit by a pitch, so the Mets have him loaded now for Jermaine Allensworth. And that was the state-of-the-art Air Force when Arnie Harris was a young man.
There's those flying boats I was telling you about.
Oh, okay. Didn't Howard Hughes have one of those things?
The Spruce Goose, a wooden plane.
Gutierrez the batter. A 1-0 game. Can you believe it? The wind screaming out towards center field. Old Glory starched high atop the Wrigley Field scoreboard, as are the rest of the National League pennants. No balls and a strike to Gutierrez. Almost got him. 1-1. Mark McGwire in the batter's box against Jason Schmidt in Pittsburgh. McGwire has doubled and walked in that game. Cardinals trailing 3-2 as Larry Dierker looks on. The 1-1. What a job Larry Dierker has done. Always a very cerebral baseball man. I know, Steve, he's one of your favorite guys to talk to about the game that we all love so very much.
Well, last year he had Bill Verdon working at his right-hand man, and this year he's got Matt Galante, both of them very good baseball men. But Larry pretty much lets the players play, doesn't have a whole lot of rules, and certainly has worked wonders with that pitching staff.
And he had a great line, too. He says, I've got 2 managers on the field in Biggio and Bagwell, and he's also got 2 of the toughest players and best players in all of baseball, and those 2 guys do. The Mets are out in the 6th. Yamil Benitez made a great catch to retire Allensworth and keep the game 3-2 in favor of the Diamondbacks after 6 now. We got our own problems. It's 1-0 Houston. The 2-1 runner goes. The pitch deflected by Traxel. Jose's got it. Off balance throw to first is not in time. That's a tough break.
Well, it's set up because Alou was running. That forced Jose Hernandez over to the bag at second. When the ball was deflected, he was out of position. He made a good effort, but not in time to get Gutierrez. So it goes as an infield hit. But again, what set up this play was the fact that Alou was going and Hernandez was covering. He gets jammed. It goes off the glove of Traxel, and you see Jose going over to cover. Not in the best position. He's got a strong enough arm to make it close, but didn't get it there in time.
So 2 are on now. 1 man is out, and the Astro catcher Brad Ausmus is the batter. Mark McGwire still batting against Jason Schmidt. We'll see if he cracks one. The pitch. Over but low, I guess. 1 ball, no strikes. Reds leading Montreal 8-0. Colorado beating Phillies 5-2. Arizona 3, Mets 2. We told you that. Houston beating the Cubs here. And the Padres in Milwaukee tied 5-5. 1-0. Swung on, hit high in the air toward left. Brett Brown's as far as he can go. And it's into the seats for Ausmus. A 3-run homer for the Astros, who now jump in front by a score of 4-0.
Well, that shows you what we mean about just tapping the ball. That was a routine fly ball, and it just kept on going. He got it in the air for just his 5th home run of the year. He's now driven in 34. And the Astros have a 4-run lead. Brad Ausmus gets his hanging curveball out over the plate and takes it into the front row.
So with the pitcher on deck, Traxel makes a very big mistake as Lima stands in, bases empty. It's now 4-0 Astros. The 3rd Houston hit of the frame, and Lima looks away. 1 ball, no strikes. The Cubs have stranded 4 men in the first 3 innings. And that the first ball really hit into the stratosphere that the wind took out. Now Lima skies the ball to right. Sammy should make the grab. He does. And there's out number 2.
I think one of the most surprised men in the ballpark that the ball went out of the park was Brad Ausmus, because he knew he didn't get a whole lot of it, but he got enough of it.
But it sailed away. And Traxel gave up his 18th home run of the year. 4-0 in the 4th. And out of the top we go. Craig Biggio has doubled and has struck out. This Astro team, with the acquisition of Randy Johnson, has absolutely taken off. A huge jump in confidence for this team. And now, Stoney, no matter who they play in the first round of the playoffs, that team has got a big-time battle on their hands. Nobody wants to play this Astro team.
I wouldn't think you'd want to face the big unit in 1 and 5 in a 3-game series. But that's what undoubtedly will happen if the first series goes 5. But to a man, and we've talked with Bagwell and Biggio and now Alou about what the acquisition of Johnson meant to this team. And they said it was a huge lift, almost immeasurable.
A roller to the right side. Morandini, a good play. Biggio, look at him hustle down the line. He's retired, but the Astros have struck for 3 on the Brad Ausmus surprising home run. He's 2 for 2, and the Astros enjoy a 4-0 lead. Out in center field, the Astros whipping the Cubs 4-0, and Brad Brown hits a rocket into right field, leading off the 4th inning. 3 straight innings now. The Cubs make it 4 straight innings now. The Cubs have had the leadoff man aboard and nothing to show for it.
Brad Brown doesn't wait too long. He takes a first ball fastball and drives it into right field. So a promising start to the 4th inning as the Cubs have a long way to come back, but a lot of time to do it on a very lively day at Wrigley Field.
And Jose Hernandez, the batter, he reached on a force play. That was the play that Henry Rodriguez was hurt. Sliding into second base, he twisted his ankle and is being examined at Northwestern Memorial Hospital as we speak. No balls and a strike to Jose. By the way, Mark McGwire walked against the Pirates a moment ago.
It seems to be the Pirate game plan in that series.
Swing. 0-2 for McGwire, the 137th walk he has received this year. That's a new Cardinal record. And Babe Ruth's record is not out of reach for Big Mac. But he is closing in on Mr. Maris. The 0-2. Strike 3 called on the inside corner. Second strikeout for Lima.
Biggio got called out on a similar pitch earlier, and now Jose takes a fastball and gets rung up.
Tell you what, one thing about this guy, he's not afraid to come after you. Lima, he just says, here it is. May not have overpowering stuff, but he's not at all intimidated out on that mound. 1-0 to Tyler Houston.
Well, he's hit 6 men this year, and that leads their staff in that department, and the reason is he does throw inside so much. If you're going to throw a lot of off-speed change-ups and sliders, you're going to have to back the hitters off the plate with a fastball, and that's what he does on occasion.
Astros 4, Cubs nothing. Here in the 4th, the pitch pulled right side off Bagwell's glove into right field for a hit. Brown around second, on his way to third. First and third, one away for Gary Gaetti. Six hits for the Cubs in today's ball game. Well, let's see if Gary can play peekaboo with a fastball here and crack it over the wall. Gaetti singled his first time up. The pitch. Ripped to the right side, but he swung late.
And that's one of the things that Gary does pretty well and has done a whole lot better as he's gotten older. Is in RBI situations, he will look away. I remember he hurt the Cubs to right and right center field when they tried to stay away. Normally, he is a dead pull hitter until these situations.
A check swing roller right side. Bagwell backhanded flip to second one. Relay to first. Not in time. Brett Brown scores the first Cub run as Gaetti, hustling down the line with those 40-year-old legs, beats the rapid first.
From the Southwest Plainview camera, we'll take a look at an excuse me swing that gets home the first Cub run. And it's a close play at first, and we'll see if Jim Quick was correct on the call. He says he was safe, and it turns into RBI number 44 this year for Gary Gaetti.
Question from our email line, Stoney, from Amy Bloom, watching the game in Salt Lake City today. You see that batting helmet of Gaetti?
Yes.
Most guys wear the double flapped batting helmets or a single flap. Why doesn't he have a flap on his helmet?
He's from the old school, where they had no flaps.
Traxel pops it up.
And as Arnie Harris says, he is unflappable.
That was bad. 0-1.
That's why I gave him credit.
That sounds like one of mine, Arnie. Cubs on the board here in the fourth inning. 4-1 is your score. Traxel swings and he misses. Gaetti a very short lead at first, and the delivery is just outside. Lima thought he had him struck out. I'll tell you what, his body language isn't going to make many friends with Jeff Nelson behind the plate.
Well, Lima is animated a little less than Carlos Perez, but a little more than most of the pitchers in the league. But he certainly wears his emotions on his sleeve.
Yeah, the only person more animated than Carlos Perez is a guy that's had an electrode attached to him and plugged in. And he's all over the place.
Matt Osmus does a nice job here. This one looked like it was going to go back to the bricks, but Osmus makes the play.
Traxel's driven home 4 runs on the year. Now he's worked the count to 3-2 for a chance perhaps to bring Lance Johnson into the box, and he's 2 out of 2 on the day.
The way Lance has swung the bat on this homestand, and particularly against Lima, you'd love to see Traxel keep it alive.
And those kids have no need to mop their brows. They are sitting in the shade. But Lima out in the bright sunshine, working hard into the fourth inning. The 3-2 runner goes, swung on, rolled, just fouled past third, and Cubs third base coach Tom Gamboa. Don't forget the guest conductor for our 7th inning stretch today, Jimmy Pearsall. He'll be joining us to lead Take Me Out to the ball game today. Hopefully the Cubs will have the lead. The 3-2 again. Runner goes, swung on, line drive. Biggio good. Backhanded stab at second. Retires Traxel, and the Cubs who score a run on 2 hits and leave a man stranded. After 4, it's 4-1 Houston. After 4, Chip Caray, Steve Stone at the ballpark. Lima and Traxel have made very big pitches, and Steve, the biggest mistake of the game, however.
Well, unfortunately, it was a breaking ball that got out over the plate, and Brad Ausmus made the most of it, getting it up in the jet stream and getting it out of the ballpark. That's the difference in this game. But there is a long way to go. It's still a very lively ballpark. I would be very surprised if many more cross the plate before it's over.
Well, hopefully more Cubs will score than Astros here in the final 5 innings of play. It's 4-1 in favor of Houston. The Cubs trying to even this best of 3 and a game apiece. Bill Spires 0 for 2 has popped out twice. Spires, Bell, Bagwell, and a quick strike. Arizona still leading the Mets. They're in the 7th now. 3-2 Diamondbacks. Squib foul back, 0-2, right off his thumbs. Spires, the pride of Clemson University.
Larry Dierker not only broadcast, not only managed, but he was quite a pitcher. Second all time behind Joe Niekro, and Astro wins.
0-2. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Larry's arm hadn't given way. He would have been a much better pitcher than he was, but for quite a few years he was dominant in the National League, and he pitched on some less than sterling ball clubs.
One and 2 evens the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. What was the defining moment, you think, for this Astro organization, Steve? What allowed them to turn it around and become a Central Division powerhouse?
I think when they decided that they were going to do whatever they could to keep Biggio when his free agent year came up.
A roller towards second. Morandini handles the easy hop, and Spires is retired. Because there was a time, was there not, when Houston was not only contemplating leaving the Houston area and trying to move that franchise somewhere else, but they were talking about unloading some of their better young players because of payroll concerns.
Well, it was after the year that Drayton McClain bought the team. He invested a lot of money in Doug Graybeck and Greg Swindell in an effort to put the Houston Astros over the top. It didn't work out that way, and they were awash in red ink. And then they decided if they fell out of it the next year that they were going to trim the payroll and get everything down in perspective.
A high chop right back to the mound from Derek Bell. 2 down.
You remember it was about that time that they pulled off that trade with San Diego, which allowed them to cut a lot of payroll with Steve Finley and with Ken Caminiti. And they decided then that they were going to keep the core of their young players, and at that time it was Biggio and Bagwell pretty much, and they filled in around them. And this year, of course, adding Alou to this lineup has really made a big difference, and getting Randy Johnson. They developed Billy Wagner out of their minor league system, so they had their own closer, and that's hard to come by, as you know, if you can't do that. And it's become a very tough baseball team.
And they lead this ball game by a tally of 4-1, and 2 outs quickly for Bagwell. A big cut and a roller that's just foul. 0-1. Brian Anderson's day is concluded for Arizona. He walked Todd Hundley, and they'll bring in Willie Banks with the Diamondbacks to face Tony Phillips in a 3-2 Arizona game. We keep giving you that score for the Mets lead the Cubs in the wild card by a full game. With the Cubs trailing in this one, you hope Arizona can give us a little more help. The Giants 4 games behind New York. Phillies and Dodgers both 8 games back. The 0-1 evens the count, a ball and a strike. Bagwell has walked and popped out today. A funny ricochet there. 1-2. Bagwell shaking his head. He hasn't had a very good swing against Steve yet in this ball game.
He's been pulling off the ball quite a bit, and he's hitting a few balls off the end of the bat. So let's see if Traxel stays away from him. Good fork ball here might do it if you can keep it away.
1 ball, 2 strikes. It's 2-2. Mark Clark takes the ball tomorrow against Shane Reynolds. Remember, he was the man that opposed Kerry Wood when Kerry struck out 20 Astros. He pitched a great game too, but he hasn't been able to beat the Cubs yet. 3 balls, 2 strikes to Bagwell with Alou lurking on deck. The pitch rocketed down the left field line and into the seats. A tough day for the catchers. You can see Houston sweating through that chest protector. A muggy day down on that field. Three-two. Popped up behind first. Sammy comes charging. Still coming. He can't get there. So Bagwell bloops a single into right field.
Sammy was playing deep, and the wind was taking it away from Grayson Morandini, and it fell in the Bermuda Triangle between all 3 of them. See Sammy looking at Mark, and then he just pulls up as that one falls well in fair territory.
And you bring in the dangerous Alou to bat now with a man at first. And 2 men out. Moises popped to first to end the first. Singled and scored back in the 4th inning. We're in the top of the 5th. A 4-1 Houston game. Right through there, strike 1 called. Stoney, the AL scoreboard. Cleveland beating Baltimore 4-1. Royals over Tampa Bay 9-4. Boston shutting out Minnesota 4-0. That game now in the 6th inning. White Sox will be in Seattle later on tonight. The Yankees in Texas. Detroit, Oakland, Toronto, Anaheim all a bit later on. A fastball missed high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Normally you have to worry about Bagwell running because he's stolen 16 bases, been caught 7 times. But with the wind blowing out and a home run hitter up, managers hate to get taken out of innings in case the catcher makes a good throw. So Bagwell not getting much of a lead to this point at first base.
One ball, 1 strike. Weak swing there. It's 1-2. The Astros, Padres, Braves, and Yankees, the only teams with more than 80 wins on the year. New York has won 94. They have baseball's best record. But the Astros, Stoney, playing for something else too now. San Diego and the Braves are deadlocked neck and neck for the best record in the National League. Atlanta currently with a 3-game lead over the Padres. But the Astros only 2.5 games behind San Diego. And that could have severe wild card implications if the Houston team could end up with the top record. And the Cubs, for example, let's say they don't make the wild card and the Mets do, they would play New York instead of either the Padres or the Braves in the first round. But a lot to be decided before the end of this season. 1-2. It's high 2-2. Let's pause quickly for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN, Chicago.
From Wrigley Field, Chip Caray, Steve Stone. 4-1 in favor of the Astros. Alou against Traxel. Jeff Bagwell at first with a bloop single with 2 men out. The runner goes, the pitch cut on and fouled back. So I guess the question is, can the Astros catch either Atlanta or San Diego. Again, they have a very favorable home schedule, and they are going to play Atlanta next week.
Well, San Diego also has a very favorable home schedule. Atlanta, however, will play the majority of games from here on in on the road, as will the Cubs.
The 2-2. Again, the runner goes, and it's fouled away by Alou, who's trying to get out of the way of the baseball. And that's a break, because there was no way they were going to get Bagwell on that nasty pitch.
This one just barely got the bat, and Bagwell gets a very good jump, and he's off to the races. So after doing this twice on a very warm and muggy day, you have to figure that he's pretty loose by now.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Boy, a day like today, you got to be Hulk Hogan to fly a kite. You need tremendous strength to keep the airborne apparatus from sailing out of your hands. The pitch swung on, hit high in the air toward left, but off the end of the bat. Brant Brown corrals it, and the Astros are retired in the 5th. On we go to the bottom half. Again, the top of the Cub order will try to get something done against Jose Lima. Mark Tuesday, September 1st. The Cubs celebrate 2nd annual Country Music Night. Get here by 6 and join country music star and CMA nominee Martina McBride. Wear your best country duds, because the Cubs and Southwest Airlines will be awarding a pair of round-trip airline tickets to the best dressed fans. That's Tuesday night, September 1st, when the Cubs host the Reds at 7:05. Lance Johnson is 2 for 2 today, and Dan Radisson with a great play at first knocks that foul ball down and makes a new friend in the seats.
Contrary to belief that there are no seats available, there are tickets left for tomorrow's game, the finale of the homestand against the Astros. Still about 5,000 seats left, and some very good ones. So want to see the Cubs before they hit the road to Cincinnati and Colorado? Come on down tomorrow afternoon as Mark Clark takes on Shane Reynolds in the finale of this 7-game homestand.
Way high. It's 2-2. Well, we talked about how important this 2.5-week stretch was going to be for the Cubs. The Cubs went 4-5 on the road trip, split 2 with the Cardinals, swept the Giants, dropped yesterday's game to the Astros, try to get back even today. As Johnson rolls it to the right side, Bagwell backs up, hits his pitcher, 1 down.
Well, that was a very good play made by a good first baseman. That play was a lot tougher than it looked. Bagwell could not come in and smother the hop, had to take it on the big hop and then make a good solid toss to Lima on the run while you're backing up. That's a good play.
And even better when you consider the fact that Bagwell plays the bulk of his games on the artificial surface. Could have got a very tricky hop there, but he handled it flawlessly. But as Steve mentioned, after this homestand concludes, 2 against the Reds, then 4 against Colorado, then home with Cincinnati for 3.
Well, when this homestand concludes, Chip, the Cubs will play 11 games at home and 19 on the road. So their schedule is no day at the beach heading down the stretch.
In the month of September, we're in Pittsburgh for 3, in St. Louis for 2 as Morandini strikes out, at San Diego for 4, then the final 5 games of the year at Milwaukee and at Houston.
The Mets play the toughest teams, and the Cubs and the Mets have a heavily weighted road schedule.
Well, let's see if Sammy can work the count a little bit. He's made 2 outs on 4 pitches. He's popped to the shortstop, and he has flied into shallow right. Oh, he's hacking away 0-1. Sammy backs out of the box, readjusts the hardware, and gets set to go again. The 0-1 is a good fastball, but he missed with it. Two balls and a strike. The barbs flying in New York. Matt Williams just got thrown out of the game, arguing balls and strikes. And now Buck Showalter is hollering at the umpire. 2 balls and a strike to Sammy. It's 3-1. Hitter's pitch right here. Sammy sitting on 49 homers. Strike on the outside edge. Sammy not sure about that one. Man, oh man, that looked outside from my vantage point. Let's take another look.
Jeff Nelson thought it was good enough.
3-2 pitch. There she goes. No doubt about it. He's got 50. Home runs, 125 batted in, and now it's a 2-run game. Grace flirts with a long ball. Alou back. He's got it, and that retires the side. But the crowd delighted as Sosa hits a 2-out solo home run. Number 50 on the year, and the Cubs trail it by 2. For the Cubs. And he got the big greeting in right field. Only Cub to hit more homers in a single year than Sosa was Hack Wilson, who hit 56 back in 1930.
And we're only on the 23rd of August. Sammy still has a long way to go.
And he's going to get another swing of the bat in this ball game. The Cubs draw to within 2 as Traxel back to work here in the 6th. Sammy passes Andre Dawson with that rocket to left. And he and McGuire continue to battle. Big Mac with 52, Sosa with 50 now. And Carl Everett, a ball and a strike. The only time 2 National League sluggers reached 50 homers in the same year was 1947, when Ralph Kiner of the Pirates and Johnny Mize of the New York Giants each hit 51. And we still have 5 weeks of baseball left, folks. 2 balls and a strike. Good news in New York. Bautista doubled home another run against Turk Wendell. It's 4-2 now. But Mike Piazza lurking in the batting order for New York. Everett rips it down the right field line. Did he pull it too far? Yes, he did, I think. Yeah, foul. 2-2. So the crowd was booing Jeff Nelson for that questionable strike 2 called. It ran the count full, and Sammy almost hit the John Cougar Mellencamp house.
Take a look at the home run again on a 3-2 count. It looks like a changeup. It's down and out over the plate, and Sammy hits it onto Waveland. And for Southwest Airlines, how far did it fly? 440 happy feet.
A 100th run Sammy scored on the year. He's hit 50 homers and has driven in 125. The 2-2 just missed. Full count, 3-2. 50 home runs for Sosa. 52 for McGuire. The payoff. Everett stays alive. He's popped out twice today. The first man in Cub history on WGN TV that's hit 50 home runs. And think about all the years that WGN's televised baseball. 50 years. And Sammy Sosa, the first man to do it for the Cubs. That's amazing, as Everett draws a leadoff walk in a tight 2-run game.
And Phil Regan out now to talk to Steve Trexel. An ominous beginning to the 6th inning. Even though it's the bottom part of the order, the bullpen is going to start to work for the Cubs.
Well, baseballs aren't the only things that are flying out of town. The Blue Angels back at it again. They must not have the afterburners on. They were very, very quiet on this go round to the ballpark. And the meeting a brief one. Traxel will go back to work here against Ricky Gutierrez, who's 1 for 2.
And Gutierrez has grounded into 15 double plays this year. That's tops on the Astro team. So a ground ball here would be welcome. You have to watch Everett at first base. He's a man you can pick off, however. 13 stolen bases. He's been caught 11 times, and a few of those on pickoffs.
And it's Barbie Fashion Day here at the ballpark. There's Barbie wearing her resplendent Cub gear. Hopefully she'll help the Cubs come back in this one. The pitch is inside. A ball into strikes. Well, Cub fan Eric Hanauer from San Diego inquiring about the health of Jeff Pentland. Jeff doing just fine. Still a little weak after coming back from the pneumonia. Told me before the game he was running a fever of about 104 at one point. But Jeff back in uniform helping the Cubs swing those bats. And boy, he's done a great job this year for this Cub team. He is one of the men responsible for Sammy Sosa's big turnaround. And Everett diving back safely. If you'd like to email yours truly, Chip Carey or Steve Stone, CubsTV@interaccess.com is our email address.
Rodney Myers continues to loosen in the pen as Everett extends his lead about a half step.
Two balls, no strikes. Big Cub fan emails says, Ben email says, I'm glad to hear Chip's used to the weather now. I was tired of hearing him complain about how cold it was early in the season. Well, Ben, it's a little hot today. Hopefully we can get it in the middle somewhere. But we appreciate the joke. Two balls, no strikes. Here it comes. Hit high in the air to right. Sammy on the run. That wind blowing that ball down by the bullpen, and it almost hooked right back into the field of play.
You can't give up on anything. And that one didn't miss by much. Looked like it was going to be pretty deep in the seats, and it fell behind the bullpen mound.
Four to 2 is our score. Sammy Sosa hit number 50. But the Astros are threatening here in the 6th. One on, nobody out, and Gutierrez the batter. Foul back to the screen. 2-2. A double play ball would be sweet right here. Steve very deliberate out on the mound. Full count, 3-2.
Well, now I think you'll get a chance to strike him out and throw him out. You'd have to figure with the bottom part of the order, Larry Dierker is going to be running with Everett. Jose Cruz, I'm sure, telling him make sure he delivers the ball, but I think I would still use my best move at first base. You might just catch Everett leaning the wrong way.
He's been caught 11 times this year. He's got a good lead. He's going. The pitch is low, ball 4. 2 straight walks in a 2-run game.
So Traxel in his previous 2 starts had walked just 1 man. Today already he's walked 4. And now Gary Gaetti comes in along with Mark Grace. And they would be talking about how to defend the prospective bunt. Although with a 2-run lead and Lima due up next, it's certainly not automatic that Ausmus is going to bunt.
And Ausmus 2 for 2, including a 3-run homer back in the 4th inning.
Mark Grace is deep at first, but Gary Gaetti just about even with the bag at third. Ausmus is a very good bunter and on occasion will bunt for a hit. But I don't think he'll do it here.
Runners lead at first and second for the Astros. Traxel sets and fires. A strike, 0-1. Mike Piazza lined a drive off Willie Banks that was caught by Jay Bell to retire the Mets in the 8th. So Arizona 4, New York 2. They go to the 9th at Shea Stadium in New York. No balls and a strike. The Blue Angels soar across the skyline here at Wrigley Field. Very appropriate. 4 planes in formation, 2 going the other way. Our score is 4-2. The pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Believe it or not, we're only in the 6th. We've been at it a while.
Ausmus is grounded into 13 double plays.
Oh, no pitch. Steve Traxel can't believe it. No pitch. He fired it right down the middle as the airplane came zooming across. Ausmus backed out. And everybody's concentration broken on that play.
Mark Grace started a sprint into foul territory. Ausmus decided he was going to take off. Umpire called time. And Steve Traxel's going, wait a second, what's that?
Did you see Grace? He was patting his chest. He said, you got to be kidding me. I thought he was coming right at me.
Gracie was running into foul territory. He wasn't going to field that plane.
Oh, that was great. Just pretend you're at Shea Stadium, guys. No problem. And Traxel trying to catch his breath. 1-1. 2 on, nobody out. The pitch. Little line drive into center field for a hit. Everett rounds third. He's going to score. And the Astros jump in front 5-2. 2 on, nobody out, a run in. And Traxel shaking his head. That no play really affected him on that pitch.
Fourth RBI of the game for Ausmus, who's 3 for 3, and he's going to knock Steve Traxel off the mound. And Rodney Myers will come in, and he'll have to contend with the Plains.
But the walks really hurt Steve here. 2 leadoff walks, then a looping single to center for Ausmus. That chases Traxel after 5 innings plus. And Rodney Myers will try to continue his good AAA work and get the Astros out here in the 6th.